Psychologist Robert Keegan, chair of adult development at Harvard, calls it the subject-object shift, and argues that it's the single most important move we can make to accelerate personal growth.
Once there is a space between you and the mind, what the mind is doing is not even an issue.
That's Keegan's point. And when we can move from being subject to our identity to having some objective distance from it, we gain flexibility in how we respond to life and its challenges.
You get identified with limited things that you know. That is a problem.
And it doesn't stop there. It just extends into many things. Your home, your car, your things, your money, your children, your husband, your wife, a million other things. Your religion, your ideas, your ideologies, everything. You're identified with too many things which you're not.
One thing after another arises in your mind and you identify with everything that comes into your mind.
If you're having a mental diarrhea, obviously you ate some bad food, isn't it? The moment you identify yourself with something that you're not, then you're finished. Your mind is a continuous runs. There is no other way. Do what you want. Try as hard as you want. It is not going to stop.
Somebody just posted something on Facebook. And you see a photo of a dinner plate, having dinner as such. And of course then you have to reply and you say, cool, it's great.
The point is, the most important faculty of your life is out of control. Doesn't matter whether they can see it or not, that's not the issue. The issue is, the most important faculty in your life is out of control, doing its own rubbish all the time, not doing what you want it to do. So, if you have to be freed from this ailment, you should stop eating bad food. Wrong food or bad food means you're identifying yourself with things that you're not.
Society, we are spiritually bereft, and I think there's a pervasive sense of despair and a feeling of, what would you call it, spiritual impoverishment or something.
The difference between a spiritual process and religion is this. The moment you say, I'm religious, you refer to yourself as a believer. When you say, I'm a believer, in a vague way you're saying, I'm a bullshitter. When you say, I believe, what you're saying is, something that I do not know, I have concluded. Why do you believe something? Because you are not straight enough to admit that you do not know, isn't it? Belief gives you confidence, but without clarity. Confidence without clarity is the biggest disaster on this planet.
We see that all of our institutions, they don't really have anything to offer on the spiritual level, especially religions. People are rejecting religions as the sort of, shell game that it is, empty promises that don't deliver. And I think that's a lot of why people are reaching out for these plant medicines.
I think psilocybin should be looked upon as a nootropic vitamin. And there's a huge amount of interest in this. Johns Hopkins University, as you probably well know, New York University, UCLA, elsewhere in Europe, there's major clinical studies that have been conducted in the past 2 years showing exactly what I'm saying about overcoming fear response, neurogenesis, overcoming PTSD. This is now medically quite seriously considered.
I think this could be enormously beneficial, like a
It already
massive…
has been.
Sure.
It already has been. I mean, that's, we keep talking about psychedelic medicine all the time, but so much of this has been done. That's the really crazy thing. Ibogaine used to be a pharmaceutical in France, although it was used at lower doses that weren't psychedelic. I mean, again, they used to use a psychedelic called Indopan as an antidepressant in the Soviet Union. In the United States, there was a drug called Monase, alpha-ethyltryptamine. It was used as an antidepressant. It's an MDMA-type serotonin releaser. And then, of course, the whole history of DPT-facilitated end-of-life therapy, LSD psychotherapy, on and on. Everything Shulgin's group did, using 2CB, MMDA, Ibogaine, this was along with Claudio Naranjo, in order to facilitate psychotherapy. I mean, people not only were doing it, they were exploring all the different ways to do it, which compounds are best for which applications.
About 12 years ago, we initiated our studies, human studies with psilocybin. The principal finding from those studies was that psilocybin, when administered under supported conditions to healthy volunteers who were well prepared for these sessions, occasioned experiences that really map on to the naturally occurring mystical type experience reported by religious figures across the ages.
Longitudinal research. Keegan tracked a group of adults as they aged. Keegan spent 3 decades tracking this group. He discovered that while some adults remained frozen in time, a select few achieved meaningful growth. Right around middle age, for example, Keegan noticed that some people moved beyond generally well-adjusted adulthood, or what he called self-authoring, into a different stage entirely, self-transforming. Defined by heightened empathy, an expanded capacity to hold differing and even conflicting perspectives, and a general flexibility in how you think of yourself.
That mystical experience, although it sounds a little loosey-goosey, actually has been well defined by psychologists in the psychology of religion. And it is comprised of several features: a sense of the interconnectedness of all things, that's a unity; a sense of sacredness; a sense that the experience is more real and more true than everyday waking consciousness; a sense of open-heartedness, love, positive mood; transcendence of time and space; and finally, ineffability. People say, I can't possibly put this experience into words.
The move from self-authoring to self-transforming, for example, fewer than 5% of us ever make that jump. Buried in the footnotes about those self-transcending 5%ers lay a curious fact. A disproportionate number of them had dabbled in ecstasis, often beginning with psychedelics, and after that, making meditation, martial arts, and other state-shifting practices a central part of their lives.